How are we, guys? Straight back into it with another opposition preview. My man Joe Wayman is not joining us tonight. We've given Joe Wayman the night off, which is fair enough because I've had several nights off recently, to be fair. And we are joined by Rose from Now This Is Everton. How are you doing, Rose?
I'm really good, thank you, Oscar. Thanks for having me on.
We've had very contrasting fortunes, haven't we, sort of Leeds and Everton over the last weekend. I mean, obviously, I think everyone expected Everton to beat Newcastle. Everyone expected Leicester to beat Leeds. I mean, it's just the Premier League this season, isn't it, really? I mean, it's just nothing really happening as expected. Obviously, an empty Goodison Park kind of worked in our favour back in November. An empty Ellen Road might work in your favour tomorrow Wednesday night. So, you know, what was your feelings on that game against Newcastle in general?
I think you're right. I think when Goodison is full, we have the atmosphere, the fans would have been on their back, you know, from like minute one, we would have done so much better. But yeah, I actually think our away form is better than normal. Probably because, as you say, the psychology is different with no fans. And yeah, the league is so unpredictable. I was fully expecting to beat Newcastle, and I was just shocked by the way that we played and how we lost the game. We were so bad. Looking to our game against you guys, I don't know which Everton's going to turn up. I don't know if it's going to be the Everton from the start of the season or the one that just played against Newcastle. And I'm a little bit worried it's going to be the second one. So, yeah.
Well, before we get into it, we'll just remind ourselves of the fantastic sponsors we have in this video. As you can see in the top right there, the fantastic football prizes. Just going to go through a couple of bits and pieces the guys at Football Prizes have on offer. So first of all, we have a Pascal Struijk signed and framed Leeds United shirt. Tickets are £4.95. Pascal Struijk, how good has he been last couple of games for Leeds United? The next Virgil van Dijk, you've heard it here first. Well, you haven't actually heard it here first because Joe Wayman says it every single week. But everyone knows how good Pascal Struijk is. Tickets, 99 tickets available, £4.95 a ticket. Get on it, guys. And this one as well, we have a Rodrigo signed official Leeds United shirt, a Poppy match shirt. So it's a complete collector's item, this one. £9.95 a ticket, 245 tickets available. Make sure you get yourselves in the hat. The competition ends next Monday at 7:30, just before the Crystal Palace game. Get on it, guys. The Spain's number 9, our Spanish superstar. Unfortunately, he's injured at the minute. Let's get yourself a Rodrigo signed shirt, guys. Get yourself in the hat. 245 tickets available. Get on it, guys. And just to remind you as well, guys, we've got another and probably the best prize on offer of all. The main man himself, Marcelo Bielsa, a signed and framed Leeds United shirt with LED lights. Look at that. Look at that piece. It's absolutely fantastic. You can just see a little montage of Bielsa in the background as well from the promotion night, and just Bielsa looking very thoughtful as well. £7.45 for a ticket. Get on it, guys. 99 tickets available. Once again, the competition ends on Monday. And check out Football Prizes. It's not just Leeds United stuff. They do it for every single team. So if you're not a Leeds fan watching this, if you're an Everton fan watching this, get on it, guys. Football Prizes, search it. But don't search them now. Search them after the video. Check them out. Some fantastic prizes on offer. And we've also got another guest. We've also got another guest with us as well. Mr. Paul from the Toffee Blues is joining us now. How are you, mate?
Can you hear me, first of all, Oscar?
We can. I've actually remembered this now. I remember now because Paul, I remember he tried to come on to, was it Before the Whistle Blows, I think it was?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Well, good. It's a good start anyway, mate. We can hear you. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing okay, mate. I haven't been in the greatest of mood today because it didn't look like Everton were really going to do anything. But in the past 10, 15 minutes or so, there's been some activity by the sounds of it. Looks like Everton are going to land, or at least they're in pole position to land. If you believe Paul Joyce of the Times, we're going to be bringing in that Josh King from Bournemouth, which is better than nothing, I suppose. I'd resign myself to the idea that we weren't going to be bringing in any incomings today.
Would he be able to play against us then if he signed Josh King before the deadline? Would he obviously he wouldn't start ahead of Calvert-Lewin, but he'd probably be on the bench, I'd imagine.
I think it just depends on if they get the paperwork lodged on time. If I don't see why not, unless there's some geographical problem where they just can't get him up into the city quick enough with the lockdown and things like that, or they just can't get all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. But if that's not an issue, then I don't see why not. But if he does come in, I'm not expecting to see him on the bench. I think against Leeds, I just think that will come a bit too early because of the Wales, the way it is at the moment. I think they'll just have a couple of days, get them up into the city and get them settled before they think about playing them in any games.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, before we get into it, guys, make sure you like the video if you haven't done already and subscribe. Some fantastic subscriber growth yesterday, some fantastic new people on board. If you are new to the channel, make sure you check out all our content and we'll get into it anyway. I mean, Rose, you were saying that Everton, I think obviously the first 4 games, it wasn't just the case that Everton were winning. They were winning really, really well. They're scoring loads of goals. Still, at times this season, being absolutely superb from what I've seen. Obviously, I think the last time I saw Everton in a full 90 was at Leicester. And, you know, only the good teams beat Leicester away. That's all I'm going to say. But, I mean, why has it been so up and down since sort of the start of the season, do you think?
Well, I think we said it's, you know, the league itself is just really unpredictable. You've got teams beating teams that wouldn't normally happen. I think we've had, you know, a fair share of injuries as well, and particularly in midfield. Alan is a huge miss. You know, I think when we had the poor run of form, Richarlison was suspended as well, and since he's come back, he hasn't looked like the same player like from the last couple of seasons. And yeah, I just think this season, for my expectations, were not top 4, top 6. It was probably top 8. And the good start has maybe given us a bit of a false sense of we need to be higher. But I think we're still, you know, 3 to 4 players off challenging for the top 4, in my opinion. And I would say that we're consistently inconsistent. So when expectations are high and everyone's feeling like we're going to win the game, then Newcastle happens. But as you say, we've had some really good results like Leicester, Chelsea, Arsenal. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag, but I'm not complaining too much.
I mean, it sounds like you're describing us, to be fair, as well. We've been consistently inconsistent. I think at times, myself and Joe have got a bit carried away talking about Europe and that lot. I think even last night we were talking about Europe. But we go from the sublime to the absolutely crazy from time to time, to be fair. And I think Everton are the same. So it's one of those games, really, this game, where I really don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know what's going to happen in this one. I think the last game, I think obviously I'd be interested to see what your feelings are on it, Paul. I mean, the last game I thought Everton-Leeds, I thought it was probably one of our best away performances of the season. I thought we played really well on the day. I thought it was a really good game of football. But what did you take from that game?
That game, I think, was the most sensible Leeds performance I've seen of the season so far. I was watching it with my friends and I just had this nagging feeling with over half an hour left in the game that Leeds were going to be the only team that won it because things were not coming off for Everton at the time. Leeds were being brave, which a lot of teams who come up from the Championship in their first season back in the Premier League don't have in abundance. They actually went out to win the game. They went to an away grounds that against a team who were in form, like Everton were at the time, and they weren't the least bit overawed. They just thought, no, we're going to come here and you're going to play Leeds' game. And if you can't keep up with us, we're going to put you to the sword. And that's exactly what Leeds done. I wouldn't say they got lucky. They defended well. They rid out the storms they needed to ride out. And they got a really cracking goals at Rafinha.
Later on, Rafinha from distance.
Yeah, I hope I'm not butchering the name. Yeah, he hit an absolute thunderbolt, did he, from distance. And Leeds deserve that 3 points. And I think that's the type of performance where if Leeds will look at that and think there's absolutely no reason why we can't do that again to the Everton when they come to our place. They'll have their moments using their better players like Rodriguez and Richarlison, but we'll ride it out, and we just know there's going to be a chance for us at some point in the game, and as long as we take it, then we're near enough over the line.
I mean, it's funny you say, Paul, about just slightly off topic, you say about your January transfer window. Obviously, you just signed Josh King. I mean, that's one more signing than we've made pretty much the whole window. I mean, the one signing we have made is a new pitch, to be fair. We have brought in a new pitch from Tottenham, so I'm not sure what Daniel Levy has given us here exactly. Be interesting to see what we get. I mean, the last couple of home games, the pitch has been horrendous, to be fair. It's been like something from the 70s. Obviously, I think for both teams, it probably suits them quite well. Obviously, both being, I think the big thing is it's Bielsa versus Ancelotti. I mean, you don't expect this really to be a mid-table Premier League team versus a team that's trying to push for the top 6. I mean, you sort of see, for me, certainly having followed Ancelotti's career quite a bit over the years, you'd expect this to be like a Champions League final almost, rather than like almost a mid-table Premier League clash. I mean, How impressed have you been by Carlo Ancelotti, Rose? Obviously, he's sort of like, what is it, about a year and a half into the job, maybe just under a year and a half. I mean, relative progress from the days of Marco Silva?
Definitely. I mean, he's come in, he's added a few players, but that side was looking in real danger of actually going down. And, you know, there are definite positives. You know, the form of Calvert-Lewin has been good up until the last few games. The thing that I'm most impressed with Ancelotti is how our defence looks. In particular, you got players like Yerry Mina, Michael Keane, players that I was on the fence about. But he makes it work. So we had our full backs out for quite some time as well. But then he's, you know, gone with Godfrey and Holgate. And I think that's actually our best back four. And we look the most solid when we play that. So I think defensively, I'm really impressed with Ancelotti. And then just the players he can bring. I'm still in shock when I see James in an Everton shirt. I'm like, well, when did this happen?
The other night, to be fair, on his right foot. I only thought his right foot was for standing on, to be honest. But when he released that, to be fair, I thought, oh wow, we've got that player to face on Wednesday night. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, James, I thought we did a cracking job on James in the last game. I think that was probably one of those. James is one of those players where I thought, oh, we'll struggle against him. Yeah, with the system we play, man-to-man marking, one bit of skill from James, and he's got acres of space to then run into. I mean, but he seems to, before that goal, he seems to have slowed down a little bit for Everton. Is it just being a little bit injury hit, or is he just being generally inconsistent on the pitch?
I think both. I think also players now, I think in particular the first half, Newcastle just kept kicking him. If you take out James, then our other players aren't that good at stepping up. So you've got your Alex Iwobi, sometimes he's good, sometimes he's out of the game. Richarlison, as I say, hasn't been as good as he was in the last couple of seasons. So really, if you stop James, you kind of stop Everton, in my opinion.
I mean, obviously, some of you just mentioned them about the fullbacks and that lot. Last time we played you, I believe it was Fabian Delph came on at left back. Iwobi started at left back, I think. I think it was two wingers played at left back. I'll have to have a look in a second, but just saw Paul's reaction there. Our opinions of Fabian Delph will be very different. We had Fabian Delph right at the start as a 19-year-old lad who looked like he was going right to the top of the game. You've kind of got a completely different version of Fabian Delph by the looks of things. But I mean, obviously, Luca Digne will probably come in. It's debatable whether Rafinha will be fit for us, but if he is fit, I'm really looking forward to that battle. I mean, Paul, how much of a difference, both going forward and defensively, does Luca Digne make to that team? Is he one of the most important players in that team?
Yes, 100% yes. If Luca Digne's not there, then we tend not to miss him on the defensive side because, as Rose pointed out, when we've put Ben Godfrey in that role, he's done really, really well. But his creativity is just... It's like our Everton's ability to create a goal just drops by 50-60% without Luca Digne. Calvert-Lewin has gone on this little drought that he's gone through after he was banging all the goals in at the start of the season. His drought coincided with Luca Digne's injury for a couple of months, and he's come back into the team now, but he played quite poorly against Newcastle. Just none of his balls into the area were coming off, and without Luca Digne delivering those brilliant crosses in, Calvert-Lewin's starved for service. So if Luca Digne plays badly, basically, Calvert-Lewin's going to really struggle to get in the game and score. And you'd look at a player like Calvert-Lewin's stats thinking, especially in the first couple of months, thinking, wow, he's absolutely flying. But under the surface, you realise his goals were only coming mostly due to one player. You take that one player out of the team, then his stats will just drop off the ground. So if you can keep Luca Digne out of the game or just stifle him, then you're taking away a massive weapon that Everton are going to try and hurt you with.
I mean, look, I've got mad respect for Everton. I think there's a bit of criticism coming in the comments here. I mean, because I'm from near Liverpool, to be fair. I actually live closer to Liverpool than I do to Leeds. I live in a place called Southport, which is just was pretty irrelevant until about a couple of hours ago, because we've actually part of this South African COVID variant now. Everyone knows where Southport is all of a sudden, but not for good reasons, I might add. But I mean, look, obviously, recent history for Everton, it's not been so good, but I would argue Everton, in terms of history, are one of the biggest clubs in England. I mean, do you see, obviously, Ancelotti's come in, and I think obviously the new stadium's on the horizon. I've always seen Everton, the projects, And I think Jamie Carragher's referred to this before. I see you as kind of like a Tottenham in terms of the project, where you've got the new stadium coming, you've got a really, well, not a promising manager, you've got a world-class manager in there. I mean, if Ancelotti stays, Rose, how far do you reckon he can take Everton?
I think European football, definitely. In the last few clubs he's been at, he hasn't stayed for more than 3 years. I think I'm right in saying that. And so he's definitely not going to be here, 5-10 years, especially with the age he's at. I would be looking at European football, but for me, it's a trophy. If you said top 4 or the FA Cup, someone in the comments has said that we've, finished 4th once or something. No one remembers that. Like personally for me, I want to see Everton win a trophy. Never seen it. Always got close. Heartbreaking at the end. FA Cup finals, semi-finals. It's a trophy for me. We have to end that 25-year drought. And not just to shut them up across the park, just because I want to see Everton win a trophy. But I think definitely it'll be European football. But I think, especially now with the situation that the world's in, it's difficult to get players. So in the summer, I'm looking at us to seriously recruit, strengthen 3 to 4 players, key positions really quickly. Right back for me, a winger, another striker to support Calvert-Lewin. If this Josh King deal happens, that's fine. But yeah, I think European football, but for me, a trophy for sure.
Would you go along with that, Paul? I think the priority's got to be a trophy now. I mean, obviously, you're still in the FA Cup, aren't you, Everton?
Yeah.
Yes. Still, what a great chance to win it, though. I think obviously the supposed top 6, I don't think they're going to take the cup competitions as seriously this time around. I really don't. I think they're going to put half teams out until maybe the very, very late stages, maybe the semi-finals, the final. But I mean, that's a great opportunity for Everton. I mean, do you feel confident? I mean, you could not have a better manager to win you a trophy than Ancelotti, surely, Paul.
Yeah, you hope so. And I think the biggest thing that Ancelotti's managed to do since he arrived is he's very, very slowly changing the mentality of a club that's been so stuck in its ways for going on 3 decades now. Everton, over the past 25 years, or since the beginning of the Premier League, really, have just really got a lot of the major decisions wrong off the pitch. And that's why we've fallen away and we're not considered a big club anymore, or a big hitter like a lot of the clubs in the 70s and 80s still remain quite relevant to this day. Your Liverpools, your Man Uniteds, your Arsenals. There's one stat that I read fairly recently that blew my mind, but it's really, really sad. Look at it like this. Since the inception of the Premier League, of the 6 teams that helped found it and haven't been down since, Everton, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United. Everton are the only one of those 6 teams that hasn't been to a European Cup final. All the other 5 have been, which shows that they are, over the past 20, 30 years, they have got a lot of the big decisions right off the pitch, and they have grown their brands, and they are becoming major forces around the world. Whereas Everton just, I feel like, have missed the boat on that, and we've just been playing catch up ever since. And we've made a couple of bad decisions along the way. We've had some managers who didn't work out. We had David Moyes, who was great for the first part of his reign and then maybe went very stale towards the end. So it's just a lot of Evertonians, like mine and Rose's age, who are maybe 30 or younger. We've not grown up knowing an Everton that's ever been near the top. We've just been an Everton that's just kind of been fighting to get back to the top. And we just need to win a trophy, because it's kind of that mentality that maybe Tottenham are in a little bit now with Mourinho, that they're trying to break that. You can be told you're good and you can get all these pats on the head all you want, but you have to have something to show for it. You have to have medals. You have to have trophies in the cabinet. If you don't have them, then you can't really consider yourself a club that's competing at the top, at the big table with the big forces, because they all win trophies.
Well, guys, get your questions in for Rose and Paul. We're going to be on for another good 40 minutes or so. So get your questions in, guys. I mean, I think the thing to talk about as well is obviously Leeds United. I mean, for me, I've got to say, I think we're ahead of schedule in terms of what I was expecting. When we went into the season, I was thinking, okay, avoid relegation. I was always pretty confident we'd do that. I think at the minute, it looks like we've kind of passed that achievement. We'd have to take a massive, massive collapse now to go into that kind of trouble. I don't think we will, to be honest. I think the rest of the league looks that poor. And all of a sudden, we're kind of looking at it and thinking, wow, you know what, we're actually only a couple of points behind Everton. I'm not saying we're going to finish where Everton are. We're probably not, to be fair, but we're kind of pushing towards that top 10. I mean, what do you see, from an outsider looking in, Paul, in terms of Leeds? Where do you actually think Leeds can finish this season? And, because obviously, I'll be honest, when Leeds were in the Championship, my interest in the Premier League, until pretty recently, wasn't very big, but a big comparison has been made between this Leeds team and Leicester and Wolves in terms of slowly building, gradually finishing higher upon higher in the league. I mean, do you see similarities between this Leeds team and those sides recently?
Yeah, there's this type of feeling around the place, from what I gather, that something big is on the horizon and we're heading towards it, no matter what bumps we face on the way. Leeds, I think, I'll tell you now, Leeds are in absolutely no danger at all. I wouldn't say the rest of the season's a free hit for Leeds, but Leeds have already achieved what any realistic fan could have wanted when they first came up, which is just be out of a relegation battle and well away from any danger like that. So you can just enjoy the rest of the season now and see how far you can get. I think if Leeds can find a way to stop shipping the goals, if they can just tighten up a little bit, maybe it's not in Bielsa's makeup to change the style that's got him so far. But I think if Leeds can just tighten up and start keeping some more clean sheets, I don't see why Leeds can't compete for the top half of the table. I really don't. I think Leeds are just as good as a Southampton. I know they're doing brilliantly right now, but West Ham, I don't think there's a lot of difference in squads between West Ham and Leeds. I really don't. Everton, well, we've just mentioned, we've got a great first 11, but the squad's too weak. We're probably not going to be able to keep up with the top 6, or at least not. I don't think we will. We'll probably fall away back into 7th, 8th, or 9th. Leeds, I think, can look at the rest of the season and think, you know what, we've achieved what we want to do. Let's just enjoy this year, see how far we can get, and just build on it again in the summer. I'll ask you, Oscar, what's happening with Bielsa? He signed a 1-year extension in the summer. Does it look like he's going to resign? Is he looking at retirement? Is he not made his mind up? Do you know at all what his long-term future is?
I don't think anyone does. I don't think Bielsa's family knows what Bielsa's long-term ambition is. That's the beauty, I guess, with Bielsa. I mean, he is an unpredictable man in many ways. I think a lot of people say, and fair enough, say that he's quite stuck in his ways, but he does change his mind on things quite drastically. But at the minute, he seems really happy at the football club. I think we've managed the situation really well. Bielsa, he has this reputation of being someone that doesn't stay around for more than 2 years or so. I think in terms of games managed, Leeds United, he's not managed more games for any other team than Leeds United. So there's clearly the loyalty there. He stuck with us when we didn't get out of the Championship first time around, which I definitely didn't expect, to be honest. But yeah, I'm pretty confident. I think you can never be 100% sure or even 90% sure, but I'd say 75% sure Bielsa will still be here next season. I guess a bit depends on how the season finishes. If we do tail off into like a 13th, 14th or lower, then maybe might be a bit more of a challenge. But guys, let us know in the comments what you think, because it's not really something me and Joe have massively discussed, to be fair. I think it's been discussed around Twitter and that lot, and there's obviously a lot of drama and that lot. People saying that, if we lose this game, Bielsa will resign. He'll have enough, in that lot. And the fact we haven't signed anyone in January, there's a lot of conclusions being drawn really quickly. But I'm pretty sure Bielsa will still be here. But at the same time, our sporting director Victor Orta will definitely have a contingency plan as such. If Bielsa doesn't stay. But I think Bielsa's been everything to this football club at the minute. I think we've got to try and keep him for at least another 18 months or so, and even better if we can keep him beyond that. But yeah, I mean, it's been an unreal ride. But as I said, we've seen Bielsa calling press conferences for Spygate, for different little bits and pieces, and everyone's kind of saying, "Oh, that's it." Because whenever he normally does that in the past, that's been when he's resigning as such. So it's kind of thinking, oh, blimey, like a lot of panic in that lot. But in the end, it was nothing of the sort. So it's difficult to say, to be honest, mate. I think a lot depends on how the season finishes. The summer targets now. Been a bit of mention about Rodrigo de Paul. In fact, there was a bit of a mention today that he'll definitely be signing in the summer. Again, I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure we can be that certain on that yet, because the whole of Europe's elite will be after him. But we'll wait and see, to be fair. But I'm quietly confident Bielsa will still be Leeds United's manager this time next year, or in the summer at the very, very least, to be honest. But I mean, at the same time, I'll throw the question straight back to you guys. I mean, Ancelotti. I mean, obviously we know Ancelotti's he's not getting any younger as such. He's nowhere near Bielsa's age, but obviously I think he's into his 60s now. I mean, is there any worry that if Everton don't invest in the summer or don't progress, that Ancelotti might be tempted to have one last go at, say, for example, your Chelseas, your Man Cities or something like that? You know, maybe not those clubs specifically, but that kind of calibre of club. Is there any worry about that, Rose?
I think he's in this for the long-term project. From how he's spoken, I don't think he just wants to try this for a couple of years and then go, because it won't work. Like, he'll need to stay at least 3 seasons for me if we're going to see actual change. So I hope he stays that long. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily blame him with some of the players that he must watch in training. Even when he signed, I was like, this man has worked with Ronaldo and all these players. And then he's watching, I don't know, was it at the time Morgan Schneiderlin kicked the ball about? And I thought that's enough to make me want to resign probably. So, you know what? I wouldn't blame him. I'd love him to stay for 3 seasons. I want him to have a couple more transfer windows, get his players in, and see what we can do. That would be my aim for him.
You know what? There's players for Everton. I think when Ronald Koeman was there, to be fair, you made some crazy signings, You had like Dominic Calvert-Lewin at right back, I remember, at one point. I mean, some of the money you've wasted. I think David Clarkson as well. David Clarkson, like all these names I kind of remember and thinking, why on earth did you sign these people and that lot? And he has Rooney back for a couple of years as well. I mean, it's pretty insane. But for me, Paul, I look at it, your recruitment seems a lot better now than what it was back then, to be fair. That must be progress, at least under, is it, I was trying to figure out who your owners are called now. So that's really bad research from me. You're under your new owners as such, or newish owners.
Farhad Mashiri, the owner, he's the one who came in about 4 or 5 years ago now, and he spent a hell of a lot of money and not got a lot back in return for it. You said he gave Koeman and the old director of football a war chest, and they poured it down the toilet, essentially, and we're still paying for that now. A lot of those players they signed, we're only just seeing the back of, like a Balassi. He just went to Middlesbrough the other day.
Balassi, I forgot about Balassi.
Yeah, Balassi's only, I think yesterday, joined Middlesbrough on loan. He's went out to 3 different clubs, and none of them would buy him. This is finally seen, his contract runs out in the summer, so we've seen the back of him. We got Ashley Williams, who was okay for a couple of months and then just fell off a cliff performance-wise. There's too many to name. The owner, he brought in Marcel Brands, who is the new director of football. Well, I say the new. He's been in a couple of years now, but he's still not really managed to get out of phase 1 of his long-term plan yet, because he spent all his time here so far cleaning up the mess of the old regimes, and he's on his 2nd manager with Ancelotti. To go back to the old point that you mentioned before, Ancelotti, I think, is a proud man. I do agree with what Rose is saying. He seems to have really took to Everton the way Bielsa took to Leeds. He likes the area. He's made friends with his neighbours. He speaks very highly when he's talking to these outlets back home, like in Italy or places like the New York Times. He's always mentioning the little town he lives in called Crosby, talking about how he feels so at home. So I think Ancelotti is happy to stay here for the long haul, but he did mention in an interview the other day that he does miss playing in the Champions League. So he is the type of person, I think, where if he just lost faith that this project was going anywhere, if he decided, right, they're not going to come through for me, they're not doing the things I want them to do, I'm basically just here for the money at this point, I wouldn't be shocked if he turned around and said, okay, I'm young enough, maybe I can go back and have one last chase at a European Cup. But I think the chances of that are quite low, based on what I've just said. I think the club is making some really good strides off the pitch now, finally, and he loves the area he's in, and he's finally looking like he's going to be able to bring in a lot of his own players starting in the summer, now that we've got a load of players out and we've balanced the books FP-wise. So I think the future is looking bright, but though the long-term future is, but just at the moment, I think a lot of fans are a bit apprehensive about what's going to happen this season now, because we've left ourselves very, very short squad wise.
I mean, a lot of my family are Evertonians, to be honest, and this thing of Everton, I always think that when you have a couple of bad results, the family, they always seem to go really negative about the team, to be fair, but when you win, really positive. But I'm looking at that table now at the minute, obviously 19 games played, 33 points. if you win both those games in hand, you're actually, well, they're pretty much in the top four. I mean, surely, if this season of all seasons where there's so much going on, there's so much drama, there's no consistency, surely it's this. If there was ever a chance of Everton getting into the top four short term, this is it now, Rose. Surely.
Yeah, surely, but we're just losing to the teams that I expect us to beat, and then we're beating the teams that I wouldn't expect us to beat. So I'd love to sit here and say, I mean, after the 4 or 5 games in the start of the season, we were all jokingly saying, yeah, we're going to win the league. None of us thought that, but I did think from there, like top 4. But the thing that worries me is just we're not scoring goals like we were. So, I think we won one game 5-2. We were scoring 4-5 at the beginning of the season, and for whatever reason, teams have figured us out, or we just can't score like we were. And I'm going to say top 6. I'm looking at the teams there, and you've got Aston Villa in fantastic form. They've got 2 games in hand as well. Chelsea is still there now with the new manager. Tottenham, West Ham in very good form. I can't ever trust Everton, so I'm going to say top 6 still. Yeah.
It is strange, though, the drop-off in goals. I mean, the start of the season, I was looking at... Obviously, Richarlison's only on 2 goals. I think Rose mentioned before. He's had a really... by his standards, a pretty poor season, hasn't he, by the looks of things? I think even performance-wise, I've not been particularly impressed by Richarlison. Of course, he will score now Wednesday night. That always seems to happen to us. But, I mean, I look at it. You've got Rodriguez there, Calvert-Lewin. I know they've maybe slightly dipped off in form, but why is it then, do you think, Paul, that the goals aren't flowing? I mean, Ancelotti's teams, they always score goals. They always play lovely, exciting football. I think, to be fair, we did have a comment there of Luke Williamson. In fact, I've lost the comment, to be fair, but he made a point about Everton don't seem to keep the ball very well either, averaging less than 50% of the ball. What is the specific problem that you feel is there at the minute, Paul?
We're just too reliant on certain players to create things for us. As I said earlier on, it's Digne, the creator, Calvert-Lewin, the scorer, and we've not had enough people chipping in. Richarlison, as Rose has said, he's just having an indifferent year. There's some other factors have got into that. He's been injured. He got that red card against Liverpool, which means he's had a bit of a stop-start few months. And the last few weeks, he's just... I don't know what the problem is with him. Maybe there's something behind the scenes we don't know about. But his body language hasn't been good at all in a lot of recent games. So the goals have dropped off for him. Iwobi hasn't scored anywhere near as many as he should have done. When we for the money we paid, I think he's only got 2 or 3 league goals in a year and a half since we bought him now. That's nowhere near good enough. Sigurdsson, even worse than Iwobi. His goals return is nowhere near good enough since we brought it, and the money we spent on him as well. He was another one of those Ronald Koeman scattergun signings. There's just isn't enough players who are willing to come in or are able to just hit 6, 7, 8 goals over the course of a season. It's either everyone gets 1, 2, or 3, and we have one striker who gets a dozen or so, between 15 to 20. And if that player's out of form, or he's injured, or the provider for him, like Digne, is out of form, then we just can't seem to put the ball in the net a lot of the time. Hopefully it'll pick up now. As you said earlier on, Rodriguez hit that absolute peeler against Leicester, so hopefully he can chip in with at least half a dozen more before the season's end, and Richarlison can kind of get out of this funk that he's stuck in. But at the moment, we're just too reliant on our number 9, and if our number 9 can't get the service from a wide player, then we're just hoping for something lucky, like a penalty or a corner kick from one of the centre-halves, get up and get it. There just isn't enough goal scorers in the team as things stand.
I mean, I'll just read to you. I mean, you probably won't want me to do this, but you'd seen that you started against Newcastle. But one thing that really stood to me, I'm not going to read it all, but one thing that really stood out to me was the midfield's kind of shape in that lot. You kind of had, in fact, just bring it up now, 1 second. I think it was Gylfi Sigurdsson and Abdoulaye Doucouré as well. I don't know how that, obviously you set up in a 4-2-3-1. I mean, I look at both players as kind of being more number 10s and kind of like holding kind of midfielders who can shield the back four and take the ball on the back foot and kind of dictate play in that sense. I mean, is that part of the problem, would you say, Rose? I mean, obviously Alan's out. I mean, in that game against Stores, I thought he was superb, to be honest. I mean, the amount of times he just completely bypassed our press and just was in on goal in that sense. I mean, Is he a massive loss then, Alan?
Yeah, we are so reliant on certain players, as Paul just said, and as soon as Alan's gone out, potentially that's one of the reasons that we're not getting goals either, is that we're not winning the ball back as much. Alan actually gets us on the front foot as well. And yeah, I think we're missing him a lot. The midfield for me is a massive issue. There's a reason why we brought in 3 midfielders in the last transfer window. Sigurdsson was like a ghost against Newcastle. I didn't even know if he was playing. He's just, I don't even know where I'd play Sigurdsson, because he is more of a 10, I would argue. But when he's there, he doesn't want to take the game. He doesn't want to try something. Like, I was furious with him towards the end of last season, because he was just standing around pointing, and he was our captain. And I think we lost to Wolves 3-0 that game, I think. So Sigurdsson, for me, I'm done with. I want us to get rid in the summer, and I think we need a complete overhaul. We need players who can create chances. We need pace. Pace is the biggest thing, I think, at Everton, that we look so slow at times, and the midfield is a thing for that. I think Doucouré's been okay, and definitely alongside Alan. But again, when Sigurdsson's there, Doucouré just has the work of 2 players, and I just don't think he looks very good.
I mean, one player as well I'm looking at, to be fair, Paul, from that starting 11 is Jordan Pickford. I mean, he had a really good game against us, to be fair, but obviously he's made that big mistake against Leicester. Big mistake that on Yuri Tielemans. I mean, is that a potential area for Leeds to target in terms of crosses into the box, shots from distance, or is Pickford a little bit better than what I'm maybe giving him credit for?
No, if I was Marcelo Bielsa, I'd be telling Leeds to test Jordan Pickford any way you can. Throw balls down his throat, shoot from distance, try and play the ball long and hope that he gets caught in no man's land. Jordan Pickford's not like Kepa levels of bad for Chelsea, where just every single game he plays in, he's going to do something embarrassing and throw a ball in the net. But there's just no in between with him, and it's the one position on the pitch where you have to have some level of consistency if you're going to kick on at any sort of club. He's either an 8 or a 9 out of 10, or he's a 1 or a 2. There's no 6 or 7. They're just with Jordan Pickford, and I think I don't know. I'd like to think that we'll try and move him on in the summer. I don't know who will come in and take him, but the Evertonians have seen enough of Jordan Pickford now, and I think the whole country's seen enough of Jordan Pickford now, in terms of being the England goalkeeper, to know that he's just not a world-class talent, and he never will be. And he's not going to be. He just doesn't belong at a club that wants to compete at the top level, or a country that wants to try and win an international tournament. So, no, if I was Marcelo Bielsa, I'd be telling Leeds players to really target him, because chances are he's going to do something in the game that gives you a golden opportunity. Sometimes he gets away with it, and it doesn't get picked up as much in the media because it didn't result in a goal, the errors. But sometimes it results in a goal, and it just the debate starts all over again of, when is he going to be dropped for Everton? When's he going to be dropped for England?
I mean, to be fair, Pickford, look, we're going back quite a bit now, but I remember the last World Cup, I mean, Pickford was unreal in that. And I thought, when I was watching him, I was thinking, I never rated Pickford before that. And I don't rate him now, but I watched him during that World Cup and I was thinking, what on earth's happened to him? He looks absolutely unreal in terms of like penalty saves, winners of the penalty shootout. I mean, do you think that maybe, in a sense, Rose, that whole experience of that World Cup, when he probably was England's star man or the star goalkeeper of the tournament, do you think that maybe went to, because the way I look at Pickford sometimes, I remember a game at Newcastle, obviously he's a Sunderland lad, where he was having a bit of a go at the Newcastle fans and then went and conceded 2 goals in the last minute. I always look at Pickford and think his mindset doesn't quite seem right to me. Do you think that maybe went to his head a little bit at the World Cup?
Definitely. Yeah, I think his ego just went, I'm the star, I can go back to Everton, I don't have to work for my place. And actually, I'd probably go with Olsen on Wednesday, just for that reason. He's calm, he's composed, he doesn't frighten me. Because I think for our defence has looked okay in the last few weeks, like very makeshift. But it can't fill them with confidence when they got Jordan Pickford behind them, and they know that he might let in a mistake. Even the Leicester one, for me, where we drew with Leicester, he should have saved it. I know there's a lot of bodies in the way, but he got a good hand to it. It went in. So he's made a mistake like a couple of games ago. If I was also the Leeds manager, I'd be saying, test him, because he's just so shaky and he makes me nervous. So, yeah.
I think from what I can remember, though, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you guys can correct me on this, but Olsen has played a couple of games, hasn't he, in the league? Have they rotated a little bit? Is there a chance Olsen might start to Wednesday night instead of Pickford? Is that a possibility, maybe?
I think there's definitely a chance. Ancelotti definitely seems to like Olsen. The talk is that we're going to be making that one permanent in the summer. He's impressed in the games that he's played so far so much that they're going to bring him in. Whether to bring him in as the long-term number one or just to have him as the hang your hat on him number two, just a player you can rely on, I'm not sure. But I want to see him built in. I want to see if Robin Olsen can sustain his good form over a long period of games, because in the little games that he's played here and there, I don't think he's played consecutive matches yet. He's been dropped in for a cup game, or he definitely played against Leicester, that game that we won away. I can't remember the other league one. It might have been Newcastle, the game where we lost, but it could have been by an even worse scoreline had he not made some top saves. So I really hope that Robin Olsen comes into the team and gets a long run in the team between now and the end of the season, because I've been impressed with what I see. And Jordan Pickford is at the point now where he doesn't deserve any more chances, essentially. I mean, I think some of the criticism that he gets is over the top. I felt very, very sorry for him when that Van Dijk debacle happened. I thought people went way, 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 way overboard saying some of the stuff they were saying about him. And a lot of people in the media, like pundits and journalists, ought to be ashamed of themselves. Some of the stuff they were coming out and saying about his character and what should happen to him. But you can't hide from the fact that he just hasn't been good enough to be playing for a club that wants to kick on and be at the places that Everton say they want to be to. So I want to see Robin Olsen come in, and I want to see what Robin Olsen's really all about, because some players can look good when you drop them in for a game here and there. Sorry, if you give them a proper run, then you know what you're signing. If you're looking to make the loan permanent.
I mean, obviously, we have mentioned about the fullbacks already, but we've not actually mentioned about the right back. Obviously, Seamus Coleman, long-serving member of the Everton team. I mean, is that a fair point? I can't say if I agree or disagree with that, Rose. I mean, has Coleman gone off the boil? I mean, in general, or this season, what's his form been like? I mean, obviously, Jack Harrison against Leicester, he forced Leicester's right back off after 36 minutes yesterday. So I'd like to hear that Seamus Coleman is off the boil, to be fair.
I think, yeah, obviously love Seamus, so for what he's done over the years, as you say, like the servant, and he's been great. But I think it's the leg break, obviously didn't help. And I think since then, with the wingers that you say in the Premier League, I don't think he can't give us what he normally used to offensively. And I think defensively he gets caught out way more than he used to now. Gone off the boil, probably just a bit older. I'd say it's definitely a position that we need to look at, and I'd probably go with Holgate at right back on Wednesday, because as you say, Harrison quick takes on players. I wouldn't want to really see that battle. So yeah, for me, I'd go with Holgate. But Seamus, I don't want him to stay and then. Basically, I think right now he has a really good reputation with the fans. We all love him still. I don't want him to stay beyond that, and then we remember him, no pace, can't get forward. A little bit like Leighton Baines. I think Baines went at the right time. And so Seamus, I don't really want to see him hung out to dry on Wednesday, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. Paul, would you agree?
Yeah, I think Seamus is on the decline rapidly now. As Rose said then, a player can definitely stay too long and it sours your memory. We had that with Tim Howard. Tim Howard was a player who I really liked as a person and as a player, but he just stayed at the club and was still in the team. Now, I know obviously he doesn't pick himself the same way Seamus Coleman doesn't, but when a player stays in the team for too long, fans can get, especially Everton fans who we've touched upon, can be very, very over the top sometimes and reactive. It can turn sour quite quickly, and I don't want that. But Seamus Coleman, he's a 32-year-old, 33-year-old who's still trying to play like he's in his mid-20s. He hasn't adapted to becoming older and having serious injuries. I don't know whether that's because he doesn't know how to adapt or because he's been told to still try and get forward, but it just doesn't work, as Rose was saying. And I really, really worry about him if he's going to be playing against Leeds tomorrow, because we know the energy Leeds have got. I don't want to see Seamus just become embarrassed. I really don't. I'd play Holgate there because I think Holgate is a steadier pair of hands. He's not slow himself. He can get up and down the line when he needs to. Seamus, I think that his testimonial's not far away.
Okay, that's a polite way. The testimonial's not far away. It's a polite way if there ever was one saying it's time to go, Seamus, as such. But I mean, another big thing is for Leeds United this season has been a weakness defending set pieces. I look at Everton, obviously got Digne, Rodriguez, some good delivery there, to be fair, and Sigurdsson on his day, some decent delivery. Obviously, Yeremina, Michael Keane, Holgate, Godfrey, whoever does start at the back. I mean, is that one of those areas you look at, Rose, in this Leeds, against this Leeds team where you could potentially hurt us? Because there was a couple in that game at Goodison Park where, had it not been for a really world-class Elan Meslier saves, that Everton probably would have scored 1 or 2 from a set piece.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is one of the areas that we're the most threatening. Players you mentioned, Yeremina, Michael Keane, it's working out. Yeah, so I think definitely on Wednesday we need to target there, especially if it's not working in open play, which I could see happening.
Would you agree there, Paul?
Yeah, I think best chance Everton have got of scoring is from a set piece. We've got some big players in our team. Mina's a man mountain. Keane's a big lad. Decore is quite tall. And as you said, we've got Digne who can hit a ball in. Rodriguez. Gomez doesn't count because I haven't seen him hit in a good ball since he's been here. I really think Everton should be looking to be scoring from corners and free kicks. I hope it's something that Ancelotti's pinpointed and got them practicing today and tomorrow and whatever they do on Wednesday. I think that's Leeds' big weakness, as you've just touched on. And Bielsa, I think, should be anticipating that Everton are going to try and make the most of their height.
Fair enough. I mean, a couple more comments come in here. Actually, I've just lost the comment, actually. Bear with me 1 second. 1 second. Let's try and find that again. I mean, the general question was, here it is, off McAllister Bishop. Is there anyone, question for both you guys, I guess, is there anyone in this Leeds team specifically, any individual that you look at in this Leeds team and think, wow, I'm not looking forward to seeing them on Wednesday in terms of who could really decide this game against Everton in that kind of sense? Is there anyone you look at from this Leeds team who specifically really worries you, Rose?
I'd say a few. For me, I think Dallas, Rafinha, and Harrison. I know Dallas scored the other day, if I'm right in saying that.
Probably had his best game, to be fair, in the Leeds shirt against Leicester. I think in terms of midfield, I've never personally seen him as a midfielder, but he played like he just played like the Cookstown Perlo, to be fair, on Sunday. To be fair, he was absolutely superb and got himself a lovely goal. To be fair.
Yeah, so I think Dallas, Rafinha, and Harrison, I think those are the 3 players that we need to keep quiet. Stop the service to Bamford, who's scoring goals as well. Yeah, those few.
Would you go along with that, Paul? I mean, there's mentions of you've not mentioned Patrick Bamford there. I mean, a goal and 2 assists last night. I mean, there's a bit of debate, to be fair, and it might be quite an interesting question. This bit of debate amongst Leeds fans at the minute is if Patrick Bamford could potentially push for that kind of 3rd or 4th place in terms of the England squad, in terms of strikers. I mean, obviously Calvert-Lewin's probably ahead of him at the minute, but where do you kind of see Patrick Bamford in terms of from a neutral point of view?
I think he's a very underrated striker. If he gets an England call up, I'd be made up for him. There's been a lot of players who pulled on the England shirt and gone up top for Leeds, for England over the past 20 years who are not as good as Bamford or wouldn't make as positive a difference as Bamford makes. He's one of these strikers where he hasn't got the sexy name, he hasn't got the cultured background, he hasn't played in the Champions League. Well, he's what you want from a squad player. He'll give you 110%. He can score all types of goals. His foot, his head, tap-ins. He's not afraid to have a bit of argy-bargy with a defender when he needs to. He's just a player who it's very easy to forget about, and when he's forgotten about is when he can really hurt you. So I think he suits Leeds down to the ground. He's a battler. He gives 110%. He's not overawed by any defender who he's up against. I'm really worried about him because I know our defence has been in good form recently. Michael Keane's it really turned his form around compared to what it was 18 months ago. And Yerry Mina seems to have fully settled into the Premier League now after a shaky first season or two. But Bamford, I think, is a player who, if he's in the mood and Leeds can overrun Everton in the midfield, I think he could have a very good night's work, Bamford. And just going on the England thing again, I think he does definitely deserve an England call, Patrick Bamford.
I'll take that. You're both very welcome to come on again for Patrick Bamford love, to be fair. I mean, just a quick question as well. Quite a few comments coming about this in terms of Everton's system. Obviously, Everton have gone from 4-2-3-1 to 3-4-3, kind of mixed up things, started with a 4-3-3. What kind of shape are you expecting on Wednesday night, potentially from Everton? Obviously, 4-2-3-1 against Newcastle. Could you change to a back three, perhaps?
Yeah, I think, we obviously, I prefer us when we play the centre backs as a back four, but it didn't work against Newcastle, so I suppose we could switch and then play Luca Dean, more advanced. Because I quite like actually that Godfrey and Luca Dean combo where you have, Godfrey doing the defensive work and then it allows Luca Dean to push forward. I'd probably do something like that because we do need to create chances, which we haven't been doing. I'm not sure that the two central midfielders actually give us any sort of presence and possession in the midfield. So we had, Sigurdsson and Decore, but Newcastle was still really dangerous. So I'll leave it up to Carlo, but I would like to see us actually play quite an attacking lineup because we have done quite well away. Whether it's the back four or the back three, I don't mind. I just want to see us get on the ball and actually create some chances in Wednesday's game.
Just a quick comment coming actually on Decore. I mean, obviously Decore will probably play, I'm guessing, Paul. I mean, on his day, though, I've got to agree with Dominic there. He is absolutely unreal on his day.
He's probably the first name on our team sheet because we've got no other central midfielders who are available for this game who are worth hanging your hat on, really. In terms of formation, I wouldn't be surprised if Ancelotti decides to experiment. Like Rose said, he does change things up and play some unorthodox formation sometimes, whether it's three at the back, that becomes a 5 when you're defending. Whether he plays 4-4-1-1 like he tried against Newcastle. It didn't work in that game, but it has worked in other matches this season. I think it's going to depend on who he fancies in the midfield because Davis and Gomez have both got the positives and negatives. Maybe the negatives outweigh the positives, both of them, but it's who he thinks Decore is best partnering with. Gomez is stronger. He can protect the ball a lot better and he'll very rarely gives the ball away. Davis has got the legs. He's a lot faster. He can keep things ticking over. He can get the ball forward quicker than Gomez does, but he's very lightweight and he can be kind of pushed around and bullied and dribbled past very easily. Sigurdsson, I don't think is worth considering. I mean, Ancelotti seems to like him. God knows why, but the thing about Sigurdsson is his legs have gone. He can't play the number 10 role anymore, really. He's tried him as like a deep lying playmaker, more like a creative number 6, which you sometimes see more in Europe than you do in the Premier League. But I remember Steven Gerrard became that in his latter years. Andre Pirlo is the most famous example, just that guy who Sergio Busquets as well. They've tried Sigurdsson in that role and that's not really worked.
It's just
either.
the difference in names there between Gerrard, Busquets, Pirlo, and then Sigurdsson and that lot. It's big difference.
They're the names who come to mind when you think of sort of that creative number 6, not the enforcer type number 6. He's tried to remold Sigurdsson in that role over the past year, and it's just largely not worked at all. So I don't really, or I hope not. I hope he doesn't try that with Decore bombing forward. So this is a game that will really miss Alan in because, as you mentioned earlier on, his game against Leeds at Goodison was probably his best performance for Everton so far. But when he's not available, Decore is just left to do the work of 2 people, like Rose mentioned earlier on, and all the potential partners you can put him with. They've all got some things that they do okay, but there's a lot of things that they don't do okay. That outweigh the negatives outweigh the positives with all of them.
Fair enough. But before we sign off, guys, I'm just going to push you for a prediction. Obviously, for me, I'm expecting a potential game of the season kind of game. I think Ancelotti versus Bielsa. I think the fact Everton, for me, need to win this game to keep that top 6, top 4 dream alive. Obviously after the last result, I'm expecting a really, really open game. I think the first goal, like it normally is with Leeds, is going to be really key. I mean, Rose, if I had to push you for a prediction, what would you be going with?
I think I'm going to go for a draw in this one. Normally would say a win, but just with how we played in the last game, I'm going to go for a 1-1. I think Carlo will probably keep it quite tight at the back defensively. I don't think he's going to do what I want and attack, because you guys are quite dangerous on the counter. So I think we'll try and keep it tight. We'll probably nick a goal from a set piece, but I can see you guys scoring. So I'm going to go 1-1.
And Paul, what are you going for?
My head says a Leeds win, a 2-1. Because I really think Leeds are going to beat us up in the midfield. I don't mean beat us up in the sense that they play dirty. I mean just dominate us, win all the 50-50s, dribble past us, protect the ball, use it well. We're not going to win that midfield battle because unless Decore has the game of his life and can play the role of as number 6 and a number 8. But I don't like predicting Everton are going to lose, so I'll cop out and go for a 1-1 as well with Rose. I do think Leeds are going to have the better of it. I think Everton are going to come away from the game very, very glad that we've managed to snatch a point. And I do think Leeds will dominate the game, be in the lead for a long period, and maybe Everton, from a set piece, like Rose says, maybe snatch one late and give Leeds a bit of a kick in the gut, thinking, how have we not won that game? We've dominated them.
I've got to say, in terms of opposition previews that we've done this season, I think that's the first time where both members of the opposition have said that you're not going to win, kind of thing. That's I am surprised by that, to be fair. But honestly, whatever the result is, I'm not going to be surprised if we win the game comfortably, if you win the game comfortably, if it's a draw, if it's like a 1-0 either way. I honestly am not very shocked what we're going to get on Wednesday, because both teams are so unpredictable. Hopefully, both teams will be on it, and we're going to see a top quality game of football. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see, I guess. But before going to your guys' channels, just going to remind us of our fantastic sponsors. Guys, make sure you like the video and subscribe if you haven't done already. Every single like means more Patrick Bamford goals, or whatever we mean. I don't know. Leeds win the game if you like the video. Just like the video. If we don't win the game and you haven't liked this video, it's on you guys. So like the video. Right. So I love doing that passive-aggressive thing to get likes, but just like the video, guys. So let's remind ourselves of our fantastic sponsors, which are the football prizes. Check them out, guys, when we finish this video, because we've got a fantastic piece here. Rodrigo signed official Leeds United Poppy match shirt. So this is as big a collector's item for Rodrigo as you're going to get. Poppy 1 shirt. Spain's number 9. What more can I say? £9.95 for tickets. 245 tickets available. The competition ends just before the Palace game on next Monday night at 7:30. Get on it, guys. This is someone who could win Spain the Euros in a couple of months' time, and you could have his shirt in your living room if you went to this competition. Get on this, guys. Get on this. And just to say as well, let's wish Rodrigo a speedy recovery. It looks unlikely he's going to play on Wednesday nights. Hopefully, we'll be back for the next game. That's probably a bit of a boost to Everton, to be fair. And then let's go on to another prize available. Marcelo Bielsa. Look at this for a piece. LED lights as well. Look at that. Just look at how beautiful that is, to be fair, guys. Look at that. Signed shirt. Marcelo Bielsa in the background there. You can see a little Bielsa montage. Get on it, guys. £7.45 for a ticket. 99 tickets available. Once again, the competition ends next Monday at 7:30. Yeah, make sure you check them out, guys. Football prizes, check them out. Because even if you're not a Leeds fan, even if you're an Everton fan watching this, there is plenty of prizes relating to Everton. If you're just a European football fan, a Premier League fan, plenty of prizes available that are non-Leeds related. So, guys, tell us a bit about your channels anyway, and where we can find you. I'll start with Rose. Where can we find you?
So my channel is called Now This Is Everton. You can find me on YouTube and on Instagram. I do match reviews, match previews, and yeah, I'm trying to get different fans on. So thank you for having me on, Oscar. It's been fun.
No problem at all. No worries. And Paul, where can we find you?
You can see me on the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We have videos on there pretty much every day, post-match, pre-match, news dailies, anything like that. it's not always me who's on there. We've got a big cast of characters that it's growing all the time. We love to have people on. You can see me on there in about half an hour. I'm going to go on there and talk about the deadline day as we count down and see if this Joshua King deal happens or not.
Fair enough, fair enough. But I will also actually be on the Toffee Blues. I think tomorrow at some point. I'm filming a quick video for you guys after this one. So make sure you check that out, guys. And I will leave a link to both channels in the description down below. Make sure you check them out. And yeah, I guess we'll leave it there, guys. We will leave it there. Thanks very much for Rose and Paul. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Like the video, subscribe to these guys' channels as well. I'll leave it there. And I'm just going to do that awkward wave as we try and end the broadcast on StreamYard because it doesn't end